right, folks, today what we looked at was Activity 1.6 with a quick review over the narrative techniques that the author used in the short story, The Drummer Boy of Shiloh. So we talked about the three narrative techniques of description, dialogue, and pacing. And we were taking notes on each type of technique. So how did it look in the story, meaning how was description developed, how was dialogue developed, and how was pacing developed? And then we talked about how each of those techniques was used effectively for us to understand the story in its deeper context. So all of these notes that you see popping up on the screen, I did not discuss them in a lot of detail, but you can take a look at them and you can copy them off of the classwork tab on fesenglish8.com. So you can go ahead and find that information there. Now, after we took those notes, we wrote in our raw notebook our 9th entry. And what we started to do today was actually prepare our embedded assessment. So we were actually starting to work on writing our original hero story based on the hero's journey archetype. So we started off in our raw notebook planning what our hero's name would be, and we drew a picture of our hero. And this all happened in our raw notebook. And then what we started to do was outline what was the exposition. So what was the beginning of our hero's story going to be about? We worked on developing a quick list of the setting in detail. We worked on answering some questions about our character, and these questions were listed on page 27 in our springboard. And last, we started to develop some conflicts, some challenges our hero would face, and what would be 2 ways that these challenges might transform our hero and make him stronger. So after we spent a chunk of time with our raw notebook and we were pre-writing this idea of our hero and pre-writing this exposition, the next thing that we did was we took a look at our prompt that was in Springboard. It was all the way at the bottom of page 27. And what we did with this prompt is we diffused it. So we pulled out the key information. And the first piece that was really important was understanding what precisely do we need to write in the beginning of our hero's story. And we needed to include the departure stage, which has the call to the adventure, the refusal of the call, and the beginning. So once we knew that this was what we were writing for our beginning, we looked at some important pieces to place in our beginning. First thing that we looked at was making sure that our point of view was either first or third person. Then we discussed making sure to include the narrative techniques of dialogue, pacing, and description. And finally, we wanted to make certain that we had details enough that the imagery or the picture we could see in our mind of our stories would create a mood. Because we want to make sure that when our teacher reads these introductions or these expositions, that the teacher is reading and having feelings for the character. So they feel sad for this hero, or they feel empowered by this hero, or they feel angry for the hero. And the last thing that we got prepared today was actually getting our exposition written down. So each student received a colored index card, and we talked about some important key reminders regarding these index cards. And the last thing was we noted when this exposition was due. And students are to make sure that their exposition is written and completed by next Monday.